LaTisha Scott finally reached her breaking point, and she didn't do it quietly. She didn't wait for the cameras to roll or for a reunion special. She didn't pull her friends aside for a calm talk. She went live on Instagram and let it all out for the world to see. It wasn't just a rant. It wasn't a promo. This was raw, unfiltered, and emotional. This was LaTisha Scott, not the TV version, not the composed wife, but the woman who's been carrying years of pain and confusion while the people closest to her played games behind her back. The livestream started like a regular video, but within minutes it was clear that something major had happened. LaTisha wasn't holding back. She looked tired, not just physically tired, but emotionally drained, like someone who's been holding in too much for too long. You could hear the pain in her voice from the very first words. She said, "I've been quiet for too long. Y'all don't even know the half." That sentence alone told us everything. This wasn't going to be light drama. This was the moment when everything boiled over, and LaTisha was ready to speak on everything she had been silent about for years. From the very start of the show Love and Marriage, Huntsville, LaTisha built an image as the loyal wife, the supportive partner, the one who stood by her man even when the rumors started. Over the seasons, viewers noticed things. Little things. That uncomfortable laugh she gave whenever someone brought up cheating. The way she changed the subject when Marsau's name came up in awkward stories. The way she always tried to keep the peace even when it was clear that peace didn't really exist. It wasn't hard to tell that something was going on, but LaTisha kept smiling, kept showing up, kept posting the perfect family photos. Until now, in the live, LaTisha made it clear that this wasn't just about Marsau anymore. This was also about someone close to her, a woman named Sunni. To the average viewer, Sunni might have seemed like just another face in the background. But LaTisha knew her well. They weren't strangers. Sunni wasn't just someone who randomly showed up at events. She was close enough to be called a friend. And that's what made the betrayal so painful. Over time, fans started putting pieces together. Sunni was always around. Always near Marsau. At first, people brushed it off. Maybe they were part of the same social group. Maybe it was just coincidence. But then came the Instagram stories, the photos, the videos from the same locations. Marsau would post from a certain rooftop bar, and hours later Sunni would post from the same spot. The same background. The same angle. At first it was subtle. But the more it happened, the more fans noticed. And it became impossible to ignore. LaTisha said in the live that she had receipts. Messages. Photos. Screenshots. She had been collecting them quietly, hoping they were just rumors. Hoping social media was wrong. But it reached a point where denial became more painful than truth. She looked right into the camera and said, "Yes, Sunni. I know about you and Marsau." That moment shifted everything. The comments section exploded. People were typing so fast the chat was barely readable. But LaTisha stayed calm. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She spoke with a heavy heart, not a loud voice. She talked about the betrayal, not just from her husband, but from someone she considered a friend. She said she had seen the DMs, messages where Sunni bragged about being Marsau's happiness. Messages where she said he hadn't loved LaTisha in years. It was disrespectful on a whole new level. This wasn't just a random woman trying to come between a couple. This was someone who knew LaTisha personally. Someone who smiled in her face while stabbing her in the back. Fans who once judged LaTisha for staying quiet started to understand. They started flooding her comments with support. Some apologized for thinking she was weak. Others shared their own stories of being betrayed by someone close. The energy changed. This wasn't just about reality TV anymore. This was about real life, real pain, and real healing. LaTisha said something during the live that really hit people hard. She said, "I wanted to believe in my marriage more than I wanted to believe in myself." That line stopped people in their tracks. Because so many women know that feeling. Holding on to something because you hope it will get better. Because you believe in love, even when it's hurting you. Because you don't want to admit that the person you defended didn't deserve your defense. But then something even more intense happened. Right in the middle of the live, Marsau walked into the room. The camera was already rolling. Thousands of people were watching. And he just stood there, frozen. LaTisha turned the camera toward him and asked, "You got anything you want to say now since everybody's watching?" He didn't answer. He didn't even try. He just turned around and walked out. That moment said everything. No denial. No explanation. Just silence. And that silence was louder than any words. It showed people exactly what LaTisha had been dealing with. A man who couldn't even face the truth. A man who, even when caught in the middle of the storm, chose to walk away instead of standing up and owning his actions. The internet exploded after that. Twitter threads went viral. YouTube bloggers started posting breakdowns of the live before LaTisha even ended it. Instagram pages reposted the clip. People zoomed in on every detail. Her expressions, his silence, the way she stood firm in that moment. It wasn't just drama. It was real. And people felt it. Then the fans started doing what they do best. They started pulling receipts. Matching outfits, backgrounds, locations. They showed how Sunni and Marsau were often in the same places at the same time. One post showed a hotel room curtain. Marsau's reflection in the background. A day later, Sunni posted from the same window. Same curtain. Another post showed a dinner table with the exact same setup, same plates, same drinks, same candle. The patterns were too obvious to ignore. This live wasn't just the result of one bad day. It was years of build-up. LaTisha had held everything in for so long, trying to protect her family, trying to protect her image, trying to keep things together for the kids, the business, the cameras. But inside, she was breaking. And this live was her finally choosing herself. She talked about the emotional weight. The silence. The pressure to look happy even when she wasn't. The social media posts that went from power couple vibes to deep quotes about healing and pain. Fans realized those weren't random. Those were cries for help. Quiet ways of speaking without saying too much. Until now. LaTisha said she didn't want to believe the rumors. She prayed they weren't true. But the evidence kept piling up. And eventually, she couldn't lie to herself anymore. She had to face the truth, no matter how painful it was. What made the betrayal even worse was that Sunni had been around her family. Around her kids. That's a level of disrespect that cuts deep. It wasn't just cheating, it was deception from someone inside her circle. Someone who knew the inside of her home and still chose to play that role behind her back. LaTisha's voice didn't shake during the live. But you could feel the heartbreak. This wasn't a woman seeking attention. This was a woman who had reached her limit. And fans could see that. They could see the years of pain that had been brushed off with a smile. They could see the strength it took to finally say, enough. People started rewatching old episodes, pointing out moments where Marsau gaslit her on camera. Where Sunni showed up looking too comfortable. The signs were there all along. We just didn't see them clearly until now. One fan said, "I judged her for sticking beside him, but now I see she was holding on to hope. I'm so sorry, LaTisha. You deserved better." Another commented, "Sunni sat at her table, smiled in her face, and stabbed her in the back. That's worse than cheating." This live wasn't just about drama. It was a turning point. It showed people what happens when someone holds in pain for too long. It showed how betrayal feels when it comes from the people you trusted most. And it showed the strength it takes to finally speak up and put yourself first. LaTisha didn't cry for sympathy. She didn't ask for pity. She just told her truth. And that's what made it powerful. She wasn't trying to hurt anyone. She was just done hurting herself by staying quiet. So now, fans are asking, what's next for LaTisha? Can she heal from this? Will she move on? Can her marriage survive? But the bigger question is, does she even want it to? After everything that's come out, after the public disrespect, the private pain, and the fake smiles. Is it even worth saving? One thing is for sure, LaTisha found her voice. And she's not going back to being silent. This live wasn't just a reaction. It was a release. A moment where she stopped carrying everyone else's weight and finally chose herself. And now that the truth is out, it's not just LaTisha who has to decide what comes next. It's Marsau. It's Sunni. And it's every person who watched her live and realized they saw a piece of themselves in her pain. This isn't the end of the story. It might just be the beginning. But for now, LaTisha has spoken. And this time, the world is listening.